Thank you for joining us again. Welcome back to In the Know. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Davis with Florida Marijuana Doctors. Today we have an exciting show, Cooking with Cannabis, and I'm very pleased to introduce Mary Adams, also known as the CBD chef Mary. So Mary, tell us. Let's start with how did you get into cooking with cannabis?
Wow, Justin. It's really funny. I tell people that we used to cook with cannabis before you knew that you had to decarb. So, like in college and things like that, we would try with brownies. I think everybody tried with brownies, right? And we would throw stuff in spaghetti sauce or just kind of trying to figure out what worked. But things have really changed in cooking with cannabis and cooking with hemp and with CBD. So it's really a great way to get what people consider their medicine into their system in a different way, and it's going to react in your body a different way. So I'm so excited that edibles and consuming cannabis in many different ways are possible for people now.
And I wanted to clarify something. When she says decarb, what she means is that marijuana comes in its natural form on the plant in an acid form. And you have to introduce some kind of molecule, whether it's heat or some kind of, would you say a fatty, some kind of fat
Right.
carrier
Yes.
molecule that will actually change the character of the marijuana to activate it.
Correct.
And so that's one of the things that you do with cooking. And actually, tell us that's something that's very interesting. And then we'll come back to the medicinal uses. But
Right.
how do you do that, and how do you, I guess, maintain the strength and all of the natural cannabinoids and terpenes when you do cook with it?
Well, temperature is very, very important, and especially in a decarb process. If you're decarboxylating, which is the actual word, decarboxylating, when you're decarboxylating, you're trying to bring all the terpenes and all the properties, the entourage effect, which everybody hears a lot about, right? But trying to get all of the essences of the plant in full bloom, so to speak. And so it's kind of like a piece of toast. The right temperature makes lovely toast. But too much heat, you're going to have a little extra crispy toast, and you might have to start over. And you don't want to spend money on medicine that you might have to throw away or that you might have burned. So I always recommend low and slow. And there are many videos. I usually default to magical butter because they're friends of mine, and the process they've made has so simple. They actually have a decarboxylation box which you can put in your oven, and it comes with instructions on how much to use and how long to go. But I always say low and slow. And then of course with CBD and hemp, that's an entirely different process. CBD is, I like to call it the cousin or the nephew of cannabis, although it all falls under cannabis.
One of the things, when we think about the plant of marijuana,
Right.
we're, of course, everyone knows about THC, and
Right.
people now are knowledgeable about CBD. But
Right.
really, these are two cannabinoids out of, we know of about 150 different cannabinoids.
Exactly.
And so when you talk about the entourage effect,
Right.
we're talking about that you have a product that has almost 150 cannabinoids, well over 100 different terpenes, which are also very important
Right.
in marijuana. And CBD and THC are two of those.
Just two.
Just two, right.
Right. And those can be found in other plants like lavender or broccoli or other things like that. So those
The
terpenes and
terpenes, yeah.
plant essences do exist in nature outside of the cannabis plant.
So, one of the things about ingesting cannabis is that there's really a different effect I find for patients when they eat it as a food, and it's natural and organic, and their systems can absorb it naturally, versus when you just get it, say, as like an oil or a tincture. I think there's really a different effect, and patients seem to notice that immediately. But unfortunately, there really aren't a lot of, well, there's no legal edible products available in Florida. So the space that you're filling is really critical, I think, in helping people. And also a lot of people, they want to know, that what they're using is organic and they're making it themselves. And there's probably something very medicinal about, creating something yourself or with your help.
Oh, it's very true. One of the recipes that I came up with was for a nut butter because one of my friends has a son who has seizures. And he's not going to take drops. It was very difficult to figure out how to get CBD into him. And with the heat factor, CBD is one of those things that can't be taken or heated at over 180 degrees, so you can't bake it into things. So you need to look at fresh or whole or organic looking products for it to fit into. So a nut butter was a perfect application. The recipe is so simple. It's 3 cups of almonds and 3 tablespoons of oil. And so you use that infused oil, that CBD oil, in that almond butter, and her son can have a sandwich at lunch just like every other child at school.
That's amazing. That's great to know, because so many parents with similar kinds of situations, they send their kid to school and they're like, how do I give them their medicine?
Right.
The school's certainly not going to do it.
No.
And, maybe it's a 3-time-a-day medicine or 4 times a day.
Right.
How do you do it while they're in school? And that's really brilliant. It's a great idea.
And one of the things that I've seen happen in the CBD industry, even in the last year, is the influx of more organic and plant-based delivery systems. Instead of just oil now, there's cold-pressed coconut oil. And cold-pressed coconut oil actually helps your liver absorb the cannabinoids and the medicine faster, so it gives your body the ability to begin healing faster. And also for cancer patients that are using a lot of THC, the CBD gives them the ability to take more THC. And one of the
Yes.
things that we've seen is that THC actually helps the cancer cells eat themselves, and so the CBD continues to allow the THC to do its job while continuing to keep the person with less anxiety and less pain as well.
Right. That's a great point, that CBD and THC, I mean, of course they go together because they're made in nature together.
Right.
But sometimes you need to play with the ratios a little bit when you're creating a medicine.
Right.
And you can really get what we call, again, the entourage effect. I know
True.
you mentioned that.
Very
and then also the CBD will ameliorate some of the potential negative side effects that high doses of THC can have.
Exactly. One of the things that worries me a little bit with the things that are happening is some people are trying to take the THC out of CBD. And a lot of that is specifically because of the drug testing that happens in certain industries. And I have friends that have shops where they have EMTs and ambulance drivers and policemen that need that anxiety slowing, to take that edge away
Right.
a little bit, to give them the ability to do their job better. And I just wish we had the ability to give them full plant instead of just
Right.
partial plant.
So basically what you're saying is CBD is great for that, but if you can have even, a small amount of other cannabinoids, including THC, it really works so much better.
It does, but I always like people to know that if you are tested, that there is, and I'm sorry, that there are options out there for you. Don't think that just because you're worried about a THC or a test, that there isn't a product out there that can help with your anxiety, that can help with your stress, or that can help with your pain levels.
Okay. And tell us a little bit now. So we've talked about CBD, and that's a little bit more clear because of the legality issues. But what about, for all of the cannabis patients who are using high THC products, or maybe both, but part of the regimen is high THC?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about how you help them with that.
Well, a lot of ways that now with the dispensaries and the different options that are available, how it works for me is because I have my medical card, and then I can work with patients in their home who have their medical card and who have already purchased their products from a dispensary. And so I can help show them ways to utilize what they have found, or what they've gotten from the dispensary. I had a friend, her husband also had seizures, very bad seizures, and they had given him a very strong concentrate in a syringe. But it looked a lot like tar, and he was not very interested in the flavor or the taste, and he complained a lot about it stuck to his tongue and his tooth. So we were able to create a jelly, right? So we made blackberry jelly, and we were able to incorporate into the jelly. So then he could have cheese and crackers with some jelly, or he could have peanut butter and jelly. So other ways to get that product into food, which enables the taste or the issue with texture to go away. And so it's not necessarily hiding it, but for me, it's like putting it into something that's also full plant. So you're getting the benefits. Your blueberries and blackberries, those are things you need anyway. That has properties that go along with what the cannabinoids are bringing to you anyway. So you're just basically adding healthy to healthy to healthier.
But it's also great how you're able to actually go into individual patients' homes and really make an individualized, personalized medicine for them.
Well, it's so important. For so long, cannabis has had a stigma of people in the back, Cheech and Chong, God love them, but everybody in the back of the car, and there's all this smoke pouring out. And there are generations of people who really need this. I did dinners at a restaurant not far from my home, and I found that so many people would wait until the dinner was over and everybody would be leaving and we would be cleaning up and standing and talking, and they would come over and they would want to know. And these are mostly women, which God bless you, so am I. But most of them were in the 45 to 65-year-old range. And they want information, and there's not a clear channel or place for them. And these are women that aren't going to the smoke shop down the street, that's got the Rasta dreads and the red and green signs out front. These women aren't going to go there to get help. But eventually one of these women called me because she had to go through breast cancer treatment. And although I couldn't convince her to do the CBD prior to her treatments, she called after chemo. And she couldn't walk up and down the steps at her house. She was sleeping on the main level. They had created a room for her. She was having tremors and she was having a lot of pain. And so I had 3 different kinds of CBD at my home. One of them I had won in a contest, a cooking contest. It was a water soluble from Oregon. And so I took her that and the other 2 kinds for her to have a chance to find what would work best for her. So I told her what I knew was about a half a drop in the morning under your tongue and about a half a dropper in the evening under your tongue. Wait a week and see how you feel. So I got a call in about 3 days, and the tremors were at about 50%, and her husband said she was smiling, and so that hadn't happened in a while. And in about 30 days, she has had no pain, and she actually goes up and down the steps, and she drove herself to the grocery store.
I can see little tears in your eyes, so obviously it was very moving for you.
It matters. It really matters. It's a plant. And she was afraid to ask for help because of what her friends might think or what her kids might think or because she's a pothead mom or whatever that stigma might exist within her generation and my generation of people that could totally have quality of life, who could enjoy their grandkids, who could hold that hand on Father's Day or Grandfather's Day and take a walk, to sit and watch television or eat a meal at a dining room table with your family.
And I've been very privileged as a physician to get to see, the same kind of thing where you just see marijuana transforming people's lives for the better.
It matters.
And it's really gratifying to be able to be a part of that. Of course it's marijuana doing it, but at least we get to help facilitate people to have better lives.
I just want to open the door. I always tell people marijuana becomes personal when illness comes to your house, right? When illness comes, when it gets personal, right? Because she would never have come further into the conversation had cancer not approached her life and taken things out of the quality of her life that mattered to her. But when it mattered and quality of life came down to choice, she made a choice for life.
So if there's any last maybe tidbit on cooking with cannabis or CBD, what would you like everyone to know?
Try it. Don't be afraid. I always say go light. Try salad dressing first. That's something that's very approachable. If you're afraid to make homemade salad dressing, buy some ranch salad dressing and mix your CBD oil into that if it's a little scary for you. With your THC, you can mix it with oil and saute onions. You can bake it in brownies, but you can't do that with your hemp or your CBD oil. It's a lot lighter and it needs a lot less temperature. So that's something that goes 180 degrees or less, right? So that's going to be salad oil or mayonnaise that you mix by hand. Some of the things that I do is like I'll make a homemade barbecue sauce. So after I've made the barbecue sauce and I'm pulling it off, I'll check temperature, and once I hit 180 degrees, I go ahead and use my whisk and go ahead and mix the CBD in there. So then my barbecue sauce already has what I need. My chicken comes off the grill and I'm ready to go.
Amazing. Folks, again, Cooking with Cannabis with Chef Mary Adams.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to the cooking show we're going to do here. So stay tuned, because in a week or two, you're going to see us do some cooking with CBD oil and some cannabidiol. Look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you for joining us for In the Know, where we try to teach you to be in the know regarding marijuana. I'm Dr. Justin Davis with Florida Marijuana Doctors. As always, taking the high road.